Now, East London is bursting with creativity. It's not like East Bank is bringing creativity east. East doesn't need that, but what East London has needed is resource, opportunity, platform, and that's what these institutions offer them. And so, what they're doing is not replicating what happens in Knightsbridge, in Kensington, in Bloomsbury, in Angel. They're thinking about what they could do differently here. Particularly if you look at the building that we're in now and how the spaces have been designed. Outside Sadler East, on the front and the back, it has a big neon sign that says, "You are welcome."
Yeah.
And that welcome is really important because you can build beautiful spaces, but how do you know that people feel that they belong, that they can step over the threshold?
Yeah.
And that's a big part of the programme.
Hello, I'm Toby Fox from 1.5 Million New Homes, the local government challenge sponsored by Redloft and by Vistry. And every month I've been visiting a different council to find out what works and what has to change to get more homes built. But not this month. Because of the local elections, we're not allowed to talk to councils. So we've come instead to the London Legacy Development Corporation to find out about their programme for getting more homes built. But of course, building great places for people to live is about more than just building homes. It's about creating all of the infrastructure around those homes. So I've talked to Tamsin Ace, director of the East Bank, about her role in making a great place.
Hi, I'm Tamsin Ace and I'm the director of East Bank, and we are sat in Sadler East, which is part of East Bank, the UK's newest culture and education quarter, making its home here on the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park.
And what is a cultural and educational quarter?
Oh, it's a good question. So it's a mass of organisations and institutions that have chosen to come together to create a space of engagement and learning and creativity. And the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park is the perfect home from that, because we're here to build on the promises made of what the Olympic and Paralympic Games of 2012 will bring for the people of East London.
And what were those promises?
Our opportunities into jobs, training and learning, routes into sort of amazing academic institutions, creativity, investment in the local community, a thriving place to live and be and hang out, and East Bank is part of that story.
So if I was a person sort of living around here, I'd think, well, that all sounds great. What a brilliant set of promises. But you've only gone and delivered, right? You've got the BBC, you've got Sadler Wells, V&A, who am I seeing?
Yeah,
UAE.
we've been here. The partners who make up East Bank have been working in East London, for at least 10 years. And so the two partners who arrived first were UCL, so they have a UCL East campus, and I can tell you about what that brings to the partnership. We have London College of Fashion, who are part of the University of the Arts London. So between those two institutions who opened their doors in September 2023, we've got about 9,000 students and staff who are living and working in and around the Olympic Park. Then in 2025, Sadler East, where we're sat now, they opened their doors in February last year. So they are just over 1 year old, which is very exciting. The V&A, they opened the V&A East storehouse, which opened in May last year. And then we have the V&A East Museum, who are opening their doors towards the end of April. And then BBC Music Studios, who will join us in 2027.
Fantastic. So how do you go about getting a BBC Music Studios, a V&A museum? How do you do that?
That's a really good question. I suppose all of the partners that have chosen to be here and to be part of East Bank all wanted to think about how they could transform themselves and how they could think and do and be differently. And also the opportunity to come together has been the most compelling and exciting thing for these really established institutions. East London is bursting with creativity. It's not like East Bank is bringing creativity east. East doesn't need that, but what East London has needed is resource, opportunity, platform, and that's what these institutions offer them. And so, what they're doing is not replicating what happens in Knightsbridge, in Kensington, in Bloomsbury, in Angel. They're thinking about what they could do differently here and how being more than just good neighbours. So what does it mean if the V&A is next door to the London College of Fashion? What are the ideas and the opportunities that could bubble out of those sort of relationships and partnerships?
So make it like a unique place rather than just a copycat.
That's what I think about East Bank. It is a unique place that these partners have chosen to come here together. They're looking at ways that they could scale up their ideas and their ambitions, but also be transformed by the expertise and the richness that already exists in this part of the city.
Skeptical question. Do you have to pay them to come here? Are there tax breaks or some other mechanism that brings these people in?
No, they were supported by the Mayor of London. So the Mayor of London invested in East Bank, in the infrastructure of bringing East Bank to life. And it's the biggest investment in culture by any mayor of London since the Great Exhibition of 1851. And of
Nice
course,
fact.
that is thriving. But no, I mean, they weren't there wasn't any kind of special favours, but it's the chance to think about how they can kind of do something differently and reimagine the museums, the art centres, the universities of the future.
What kind of bedfellows are academics for the fashion world and media and dance?
I mean, having UCL, who've got their East campus as part of East Bank, and London College of Fashion, who've both got very different approaches to how they've been part of the East Bank partnership. So UCL East are creating a completely new campus, all with new courses and programmes. They've been recruiting students into their programmes from scratch. Right. Whereas London College of Fashion had 6 campuses dispersed across the city, and they brought them into one building. So they arrived full with 6,000 staff and students.
Wow, just like ka-dunk.
Yeah, they arrived full. Yeah, they started the academic year with all of their building, all the rooms in their buildings full. What that brought for London College of Fashion is a chance for these courses to be together, for faculties to be linked. They have 3 schools within London College of Fashion who've been dispersed, so they have a much more connected community. Yeah. But also for London College of Fashion to be next door to the V&A East Museum, for their students to have access to the storehouse, which is, 250,000 objects, 1,000 archives, that they can literally enhance and support their studies directly on the park, is huge in terms of the value and the benefit. But also, interestingly, they've just announced a joint masters in fashion storytelling that will be taught between the V&A East and London College of Fashion. So again, you can see how the partnership is fostering those ideas.
You were talking about the things bubbling up.
Exactly, those ideas of collaboration. Yeah. And for UCL East, they've been working in East London for a really long time. But they wanted, again, to think differently, what would make East different from Bloomsbury. Mm-hmm. And also the idea of being part of the park, mm-hmm. and how they can use the park as a test bed and bring their academics and their research sort of skills and use the outdoor spaces to really enhance what they do.
What do they do? What sort of research?
I mean, they have got there's huge research centres over there around creative health, robotics, climate. I mean, the list is endless. I mean, UCL academics are solving the world's problems, and being rooted here is really important to them. And they have, they've got I think it's a £5 million bursary for East Londoners to study and do PhDs fully funded. Like, they're really committed. Yeah. But, how they might engage with East Bank is that they have the Institute for Global Prosperity and their Citizen Scientists programme, where they train up members of the communities to be active researchers. And so we're looking at how we can work with them to underpin the work that we're doing as East Bank, to see, what is the value of a creative cluster in a place like this. So there are really interesting ways that academics and researchers are really investing in the partnership and bringing really different ways of thinking and kind of rigour to the programme that we want to deliver.
Tamsin, you've talked about how important the East Bank is for delivering on the promises to the people who were here before the Olympic Games. What's your evidence that you've actually managed to do that?
Well, I mean, the East Bank partners haven't just arrived into their buildings as they open. They've been working in East London for at least 10 years, ensuring that they're collaborating with the experts and the grassroots organisations who are already here to understand what the gaps are, where they can add value, to learn from those kind of people that have been really embedded here and know the need and know the opportunity. So the programmes that have been created within all of the East Bank partners are shaped by actual research and local expertise. We're committed to making sure that the jobs that we're creating go for East Londoners. We have internship programmes. So even before the venues have opened, all the partners have had year-long London Living Wage paid internships for East Londoners to come and get under the skin of these organisations. We have East Education, which is an education partnership programme doing joint teacher training, summer schools, careers weeks. So there's lots of ways that local people have had a sort of a stake.
What sort of numbers are involved?
One of the most exciting programmes that East Bank is part of is the East Summer School, which is where all the partners sort of unlock and engage some of their programmes for local young people to come and get a real kind of inside track to the creative industries. And we've been doing that for years and years. And we've had over thousands of young people who've come and done makeup tutorials with BBC Glow Up, in London College of Fashion's cosmetic science laboratories, radio making with the BBC, lighting design with ABBA, hip-hop dance classes with Sadler as well as East. And so there's sort of the engagement locally is vast.
And presumably this is becoming a sort of international visitor attraction like it was during the Olympic Games as well.
It is an international attraction. I mean, sort of from tourists, but also from delegations from all around the world who want to come and see what we're doing here, because the UK in the 2012 Games and now the legacy programme on the back of that is seen as one of the most successful ever, because you can see that people are coming to the Olympic Park, they're engaging with all of the sporting and cultural venues, they're kind of coming to swim here. So when you come here, it doesn't feel like it's a space that's sort of yet to be brought to life. It already is alive. And as more and more East Bank partners open up, there are more people wanting to come and kind of play.
Are there quotas that these institutions in the East Bank have to fulfil in terms of employing local young people?
There aren't kind of strict quotas, but there is a commitment to ensuring that the opportunities here, are for local people. Sadler East that we're stood in now, they have a commitment that 50% of those roles go to local people. There's been some really, really interesting recruitment drives. So with V&A East Storehouse, they were looking at their front of house team, and they wanted to make sure that even the language that you might use around invigilation or, museum hosts might feel like something that if you didn't know that world, you might think that role isn't for you. So they looked at roles like naming them floor managers and opening it up and doing joint recruitment between Sadler East and the V&A East Storehouse, because they were both opening at the same time, and doing kind of workshop programmes to bring people in. And they've been so successful that around between 70 and 80% of those roles have again gone to local people.
That's amazing. So why does my audience and most of our content is about delivering new homes, getting new homes built. So why does all of this matter in the context of building new homes?
I mean, from an East Bank perspective and from my perspective is that I think culture and creativity is an integral part of living a well and prosperous and healthy life. It's not a nice to have, it's a necessity. I think art changes lives. And so creating spaces where people live but also can engage in creative activity, I think is the future in the way of kind of cultural placemaking. And so being part of that story is something that I'm so excited by. I've come from a sort of more traditional arts programming background, and now I'm here in this sort of cultural placemaking position, and I'm loving working with developers, working with planners, thinking about how we activate the public realm to make it feel authentic and not a carbon copy of other places. What I want is for people to come to the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park and come and bump into creativity and ideas and go, I know why that's here and not somewhere else, because it feels like it's rooted in place. Can
you give us an idea of something like that's happened, that has been developed or created as a result of that?
Well, one of the things that I'm most excited about is how we publicly demonstrate the East Bank Partnership in action.
Okay.
And how we're doing that this year is we're launching our first East Bank Festival. And so that level of collaboration for me feels like something that is really unique to here, because you've got big institutions that are saying, we're doing this thing, do you want to do it with us? And all the partners have leapt into action. So when the V&A East Museum opens on the 18th of April, their first exhibition is looking at the history of Black British music. So that is our big theme and idea, and all the East Bank partners are responding to that, but from their own perspectives.
Yeah.
And then what we're doing is layering on top of that a whole summer programme of festival events. Yep. So we'll have 4 live weekends, and they'll be curated by really exciting collectives and curators and artists. But the brief says, alongside your network and your kind of black book of amazing creatives, you have to platform East London creative talent, which makes it really relevant and rooted to here, and tells a story of why East London is a vibrant and sort of compelling place to visit.
And again, does that thing of reaching its tentacles outside the park into surrounding areas, but also those surrounding areas reaching in and changing and shaping the park.
Exactly. The park is sort of the catalyst, and it's sort of got its tentacles that go out into the 4 boroughs, who've all got really different energies and expertise, and we want to make sure that that feels like it's alive within our programmes.
What else is new?
I mean, there are so many things that are new. One of the most amazing things about working in the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park is that no week is the same, that something new has opened or arrived or popped up. And one of the things that East Bank is excited about is that we've just launched A new sculpture has been unveiled on
Okay.
Waterfront Square by the artist Thomas J. Price. It's called A Place Beyond, and it's the most stunning sculpture of a young black woman who is listening to music, and she's looking out over the park. And it's 18 foot high, and it's the biggest artwork that he's ever made. And it's just such an important emblem or symbol of welcome and a statement of belonging. And particularly if you look at the building that we're in now and how the spaces have been designed, outside Sadler East, on the front and the back, it has a big neon sign that says "You are welcome."
Yeah.
And that welcome is really important, because you can build beautiful spaces, but how do you know that people feel that they belong, that they can step over the threshold?
Yeah.
And that's a big part of the programme. And we're just sat right next to Sadler East community dance floor, which is an amazing space right in the window of their building. So as you walk past, you can see people dancing. They do free dance classes 3 times a week for older people in hip hop, flamenco for school children, ballet for babies, and anyone can come and join in.
Yeah.
But the other brilliant thing about that programme is that when it's not in use, they have a programme called The Floor Is Yours.
Right.
So anyone can come and plug in and just dance and perform.
Don't tempt me.
And use the floor. And I think that sort of welcome and how people know that this space is for them is really important. I mean, my wildest ambitions is that the collaboration and the partnership goes from strength to strength. Is that, in 10 years' time, if these institutions aren't doing things together, that to me isn't success. So it's ensuring that we're always looking at ways to conjure up magical ideas that we couldn't do if we weren't together right now in this place, in this part of London. The East Bank Festival, the ambition is that grows and grows and becomes a fixture in people's diaries. And also, I'm really excited about that sort of, I call it muscle memory, that feeling that people go, I'm going to go to the park because I know that there'll be something I can bump into and something that'll be surprising and something engaging, and that people have that memory and that link with us, and as a space that really, pushes the boundaries and brings artists that feel that they're locally relevant, but also has that international and global ambition.
It can't have been easy to get from the start to where it is now. If you were to do it all again, what would you want to do differently?
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the things I've been reflecting on is that level of participation and sort of engagement. And I think that arriving together and having a set of shared goals and objectives has been really important. We're not trying to retrofit. So we're not trying to sort of say to people, you've been here for a while, but now we're going to make you work in a certain way. That we've been governed and sort of set up to sort of deliver on these sort of set focuses, which I think is really helpful. So I suppose that's something that I think I would advise or recommend, is that coming together with aligned values and sort of, strategic frameworks and metrics that you can measure on.
Yeah.
So things around your engagement and commitment with schools, the jobs and the sort of opportunities that you create, that the idea that we're going to be greater than the sum of our parts, and look at ways to pool resource and to scale up some of the programs that we might be doing in isolation, to think about how you engage with the 4 growth boroughs, to make sure all those sort of strategic objectives and priorities are aligned, so that we can kind of really deliver something that has impact.
And is unique. Right?
Exactly.
But on that, I mean, is there any reason why another place in the UK couldn't just say, that's a really great idea, we should replicate that here?
Absolutely not. I think that what we're doing here, is a really interesting blueprint for sort of cultural placemaking. I mean, there are amazing places across the country that do work in a similar way, like Salford Media City, I would say is similar.
Yeah.
But this level of collaboration, I think, is really unique and really important, and I don't think happens that often. So I would say that sort of generosity and openness and sort of taking away the competition is the kind of key to our success.
Is that anything to do with the institutions themselves, like the specific institutions, or is it more to do with the people that happen to be in the right place at the right time, or the place itself?
I mean, the institutions are all quite distinctive in what they deliver and the art forms that they focus on. So that makes it easier because they're not competitors in the market. But also just the kind of the radical creativity that happens within these institutions means that they're up for the challenge. And they're open to having those kind of difficult conversations and sort of the transparency that that takes to kind of look inwardly and look at the kind of some of the processes and mechanisms that might be a blocker. They're kind of here and up for ripping up the rule book and looking at how they might affect sort of sectoral change by the way that they collaborate here. So I think that, and that is embodied within personalities within the organisations, but it's also just woven into the fabric of how these places operate and run.
Ripping up the rule book is a good place to
Yeah.
end. Tamsin, thank you so much for your role in 1.5 million new homes.
Thank you.
And that's it for another episode of 1.5 Million New Homes, the Local Government Challenge, sponsored by Redloft and Vistry. But we're going to be back with more from the London Legacy Development Corporation in a few days. So like and subscribe, and we'll look forward to seeing you then.